A very shocking narrative by our own brothers, sisters and scholars gaining traction now teaches that popular Atlantic slave trade is almost a lie. You can look at this YouTube and listen to this YouTube where they deal with it. They say DNA evidence proves African Americans are in fact native indigenous aborigines. They say no. The whole slave trade story was given to us, all of us, in reverse. That's what they say. So they say that Africans were not shipped from Africa to America. They say that the Africans, they say that the truth is that black Indians were shipped from America to Europe. They were then shipped from Spain to Africa as commodity for African resources. So what is he saying here? These black Indians, now mistaken as African Americans, mistaken by who? Were shipped back to America and classified as African slaves. This is a popular thinking. It's gaining traction. There are lots of people that believe and follow this. Then they say this part of history is what the school system fails to teach or to mention in history lessons. So they say, oh, this is a lie. But what the video or the speaker or the teachers who teach this fail to narrate is the period of slave trade, which is 500 years plus. They also don't talk about the about the white Arab slavery that took place, that is still there, which is almost 1,500 years going on, and the colonization and the destruction of African families. They don't talk about that. This is what is there. Why would such an elaborate scholarship be promoted? Who is behind this? Who stands to benefit? The bone of contention arises from the vital identity of who was the first to settle in America. Once we know that, we know who is fueling this hidden agenda, whose sole chief aim is to create a divisive wedge between black people in the United States and those in and from Africa. What kind of DNA that blinds people to the phenotype which everyone can see, which is the biggest problem? The phenotype, the color, what your appearance, the melanin, the carbon that you have. Europeans found people in America when they came there. Who were these people? Upon their arrival in the New World, European explorers found the land already teeming with native people. What ethnicity were these people? Were they the original natives or first Americans? Were they Africans, Red Indian or Asian? Let us share some naked facts concerning the first indigenous Native Americans. To weed out some blocking foliages, we must define some anthropological terms. As we do so, we hasten to clarify that European definitions are suspect and will be refined in our general conclusion. We will show what they are and the fallacious nature of these European terms. One term that combines all is autochthonous, which means indigenous or native, formed or originating in the place where found. Ancient Athenians, Greeks, considered their ancestors to have sprung from the very soil of the region they inhabited. This is the same theme. There is a word that we are going to show you that means that exactly which is found in Africa. The word for any true-born Athenian is autochthon itself, springs from auto, meaning self, and chthon, meaning earth. The opposite of autochthonous is foreign, allochthonous, non-indigenous, non-native, imported, migrant, introduced, transplanted, which means all the Europeans in all the continents and all the countries are allochthonous. The indigenous people were there before they looked like that. These are the images that you really find or in textbooks or you are really told. So Columbus found people who looked like this. Some looked with a lot of copper, some very dark, some light, exactly like that. Who are these people? But before that, we have got scholars who stand against African liberation, like Gates, Henry Gates III, promotes the white supremacist lie that Africans never crossed the Ethiopian Ocean, so-called Atlantic, prior to Columbus, which is a lie, because this is absolutely false. The first people in the Americans were Africans. Modern African scholars call these people the Black Native Americans. The Fugians, who are one of the oldest Native American tribes, carry the DM174 haplogroup of the Andaman islanders. You know those people that kill a pastor who wanted to teach them about Jesus? They looked like that. This is the indigenous American, the African people who went to America looked like that. They looked like that more straightforward. Autochthon American looked like that. Today they are labeled a black American like that, or Afro-American. And this is a native who could be naturalized, or Latino or Hispanic mixed. They look like, these are the ones that are promoted. Him and her are no longer promoted. Did you know that beginning in 1912, all non-reservation Indians were classified as black in Virginia? Correct. By Virginian Bureau of Vital Statistics, like that, straightforward, copper, black Cherokee, like that. And this is the one who they thought had no beards, and therefore they had the case of Cain. But they had beards. Black settled the Americans before 130,000 BCE. The peopling of the Americans by blacks as the first true Americans, who were the first to settle in America. Black people were the original Americans, and very few people know this. We were here and there in America before the so-called Indian was there in North America. This is the people. This is the original copper-colored. And this is the African, this Basarwa in Zimbabwe, Botswana, Namibia, so-called Bushmen today look like that, copper-colored, straightforward. There is a Miss Gulan who unearthed documents from the days of the Louisiana Purchase, and they were under the Spanish territory in Florida. The last queen, the descendant of the last queen of the Chief-Functor Nation looked like that. Montezuma looked like that. Montezuma or Muntu Zuma looked like that. Shaka Zulu, exactly with a spear, just like some of us. All people born in America are Native Americans, but not all autochthonous or came directly from the soil. This one came directly from the soil. Indigenous, this is not. Nah, never. This is the indigenous, copper-colored, and these are allochthonous, foreigners, although they migrated. So these are Native Americans. Exposition Portland or Chief Skin Cote 1905 looked like that. There is American again, looked like that in the Netherlands, in America. There is again Wishram tribe, Chinook 1911 looked like that, like the Tonga, like the Africans, like the Nambia, like the Zulu, exactly like that. Facts now dominate educational system. When they teach about red Indians, they show pictures of yellow to white looking people and said they were red. In doing this, they are programming your mind. When you are shown the real indigenous owners of the United States, you will, as per training, as per software put in you, refuse to see them as Africans like that. Proof after proof showing that the first people here in America recorded with scientific anthropology, showing the skeleton findings, historical accounts, records, data, images from the early explorers, colonizers, settlers, and historians of who they encountered and how they described them. Even so, with so much overwhelming data correlating that the natives, being copper-colored, were actually called Negro, you will still refuse to accept this and continue to believe what Hollywood tell you. Native Americans and Australian Aborigines were 100% or positive or blood type before colonization. Let that sink. These are facts. This is a modern American Indian fake. This is a modern American Indian child fake. This is whitewashed fake. This is the original of this whitewash. More of whitewashing. There is fake chief skin color, hair texture, facial features are concealed, but he's looking like that. He's an African, straight. And this is not, he's a European. He's a mulatto, he's fake. Again, there is a European fake of the original. And again, the real Chief Oshkosh looked like that. Not this one, whitewash European looking Chief Oshkosh, fake. And also fakes. The Florida Constitution by John 1671 looked like that. And now, 19th century, they're changing them now. Scientific clincher. Black history from the library of Brother Skipper. American black aborigines. The 12,000-year-old skull that they found and named Luzia, found in Lapa Vamsia, in Brazil in 1975, European anthropologists and scholars and everybody else was excited that they stumbled on the ancient Mongoloids. Anthropologists were surprised to discover that Lucia's features resembled those of Negroids, a black aboriginal. Many anthropologists now have accepted that these people, the Africans, were already in America 130,000 years before Common Era. In conclusion, therefore, what ethnicity were these people? Negroid. Were they the original natives or first Americans or autochthonous? Yes. Were they Africans? Yes. The first wave to come out of Africa. The slaves that were taken later is maybe the last wave or the fourth wave. Red Indians or Asians? No. These came from intermarriages and mixing. But what did these people call themselves? Here is a shocker. They called themselves Bantu. Unbelievable this as it may be, as proof, it's clear. One scholar who supplies this self-name had no clue at what she was doing or narrating. She didn't realize that she was giving the clue. So we quote her. As for Americans being called Red Indians, according to Ancient and Modern Britain by David McCritchie, Dr. Huxley said that when they called American Indians red, they meant chocolate brown, which is black in color. That is why the Red Indians on the reservations and their descendants are being kicked out of the tribes and in many instances being told to go back to Africa. These people, the Europeans, know this. They know. Why? Let's not answer, but let's follow on. When the pilgrims arrived, they asked our autochthonous peoples of this land what they called themselves. Who are you? Just as they came into Africa, when they asked the Africans, who are you? The ancient mound builders, Kai people, Anasazi, Washowe, Lenape, and others repeatedly told these Europeans in their own languages that they were people. Bantu, Anu, Muntu. You can read more on this website. Straightforward, that's Bantu. We go to now to prove more and add more flesh to this. The term Nyika is autochthonous because it gives us Nyuka image or germinate. These are the people, Nyuka. These are the Nyika. These are the Bantus. But these are in America, Indian settlements in America. They look like Southern African Bantus, right? Correct. The most powerful word you can ever learn if you are black, if you are brown, if you are African is to master the term Bantu. It refers to the vital force as in physics, or the vital force as in chemistry, or committee mystery formulated in Bantu philosophy. The driver root is the word Ntu, and the ba spirit Ntu thing. From this stems all the other words describing the concept of a person, a thing, a place, and time, and its common elements in the concept of vital force, spirit. Exactly like the indigenous people in America who were Bantus, and the Africans, and others all over the earth. Now, give me any other noun or a word that describes a people with such richness. None, except this one, the indigenous, the original. The noun Bantu gives us Muntu, meaning person, spirit. Ba, it also gives us the word Kintu or Chinu or Kanu, meaning thing. Hantu, meaning place and time. And Kuntu, meaning finality or philosophy. Thank you very much. Siyabonga tatenda. This is Priest Rabbi Elem Dumizulu of Hamiti Hebrew Ethics. Subscribe to our channel and get in touch with us. Thank you. Goodbye.